So we're going to use a soda machine as an example. That's it. So I am pretty sure we have either seen a soda machine, or we've heard of a soda machine, or we have secondhand knowledge of somebody who's seen a soda machine. You may have possibly seen these that are water dispensers, or they might be like energy drinks too. Most soda machines used to have, and I do believe that they still do, they have buttons down the side, but you can't actually see into the soda machine itself. So you're just kind of going based off of faith that the soda is actually in there, the one that you want. But you go based off of the different buttons down the side. So here we have an example of our soda machine. So we have this soda machine off to the right-hand side here, and you'll notice that there are 5 different buttons. There are 2 buttons for blast. There is 1 button each for slurp, lemon twister, and diet slurp. So here we've got the soda machine. Now, we want to think about, for this real life situation, what the input and the output might be. Now, to me, the output is the easier one to figure out. So I'm going to jump down to part B, just again because I think it's more obvious. It's probably the best way to think about it. So I am at a soda machine. I went there with a purpose. I went there with a very specific reason, because I expected to walk away with a soda. That would be the output. The output is the soda that actually came out of the soda machine. So it's the thing you expect to leave with. So the output is the soda from the soda machine. I think the thing that we need to think about is, well, what's the input? How do you get the soda out? Or how do you get the soda to come out of the dispenser? Well, you walk up to a soda machine. Are you just going to stand there and wait for it to read your mind and tell you, oh yes, of course, I knew that you wanted lemon twister. Here it is for you. Can anybody tell me what we have to do? So what is it that we do to try to get the soda out of the soda machine, or try to get that product that we walk out? Yeah. Absolutely, we put money in. That's important. So we got to put in money. So that's one of the actual things we are physically doing. So input, we're going to put in money. Okay. So I want you to think about this realistically. You've put money in, and you're just standing there now. I think you have to do at least one more thing. Put the money in and just wait. No, I don't think so. And I'm seeing some good answers from people. Yeah, you got to press a button. You have to tell it what you want it to do. So we're going to put in money and press the button for the soda that we want. So we're going to press the button. So we're going to think about both of those actions being the input for our soda machine. So pressing the button. So I've put the money in, press the button. That's my input. My output, soda. Okay? All right, moving on. Let's take a look at some scenarios here. So we've got Mr. Anderson goes to the soda machine twice in one day. That's a lot of soda, but okay. Twice in one day. He decides to, okay, I'm going to color code this because I've got my inputs, which I've been color coding orange, and my outputs, which I've been color coding green. So he pushes the lemon twister button. Sounds like an input to me. The output he gets is lemon twister. Oh, that's nice. So he wanted lemon twister and he got it. That's wonderful. Second visit, he goes back. He pushes the lemon twister button again, but he gets blast. Now, we want to know, not only is the machine working, clearly it's working because he's getting the soda out, but is it functioning consistently? So what I mean by that, if Mr. Anderson were to go to the soda machine a third time and he pushes the same lemon twister button, does he know for sure, without a doubt, what soda is going to come out? What do you think? Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, who knows? He went twice. He got 2 different sodas. What if he pushes the lemon twister button again and gets a diet slurp? Who knows? We have no idea what's going to happen. So we're going to say that this is absolutely not functioning consistently. So no. And that's because the output, so the green highlight, is not predictable. He should know exactly what's going to happen, but clearly he doesn't, for sure. And he has to know for sure. So the output is not predictable. And we need it to be predictable. So consistent, predictable. Okay, so let's take a look at D. So we have another option here. So Brandy pushes the top blast button. Okay, top blast button. That's her input. She gets a can of blast. Okay. Miguel pushes the second blast button. Okay. He gets a can of blast. All right. They have 10 of their friends repeat this process, and everybody gets a can of blast. Is the machine functioning consistently? Yeah. Not only is it functioning consistently, it's functioning correctly too, which is really kind of nice. You push blast, you get blast. It's nice. It's predictable. So I would say yes. And it's because the output is predictable. So we know exactly what's going to happen. Okay, let's think about another scenario. All right, here we go. Carlos pushed the button for slurp. Okay, so pushed the button for slurp. So that's his input. His output is a can of lemon twister. That's interesting. Okay, Stella also pushed the button for slurp, and she got a can of lemon twister. Oh, okay, I'm not as surprised as I was. Paula pushes the button for slurp and got a can of lemon twister. Is it functioning consistently? Yeah. Is it functioning correctly, though? No. Unless, of course, this is like a soda machine that's been around for a really long time and everybody knows if you push the slurp button, you're getting lemon twister. It's kind of expected then. But, so it is functioning consistently. It's just not correct. But consistently, yes. The output is predictable. Okay. So what we're going to talk about on the next page, and these are ones that I'm going to want you to write down. We've got some examples here. We're going to take a look at some machines, and we're going to decide if they're functioning consistently. But here's the deal. In order for things to be functioning consistently, we want the output to be predictable. And I'm going to keep referring back to the buttons on the soda machine. So if I push the Diet Slurp button 100 times, 50 times, 8 times, 2 times, doesn't matter how many times, if I push the Diet Slurp button, I should know exactly what to expect, and I should always get the same output. That's what it means to be functioning consistently. So, moving on. So now we've got some examples here. So we've got part A, which we're going to work on first, and we've got part B, and we've got part C. So what I'd like you to do at this time is write down the directions on part A for sure. So decide if the following are functioning properly. Now, up at the top, I defined properly as consistent and predictable. So we're going to need to know that. And then I want you to write down part A, so just the table, and then we're going to talk about it. So looking at part A, I have this button number. So I'm actually walking up to a machine again. So I've got these button numbers. And then if I push those buttons, I'm trying to determine if the output for each button is consistent. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through and I'm just going to start looking at my buttons. And I'm going to see if any of my buttons repeat. So kind of like the soda machine, I had 2 of the blast buttons. If I push those 2, I want to see if I'm going to get the same output. So I'm going to look and see if any of them repeat first. So I'll go down to my table and I'm only looking at the inputs right now. So I'm ignoring the output. So just the top row right now. So I'm going to look here. And I'm going to see if any of the buttons repeat themselves. And I think they do. The first 2 entries are button number 1. So I'm going to take a look at those. So I'm just going to look at button number 1. And the thing I'm going to ask myself is, are the outputs the same? If they are the same, then I feel pretty good about button number 1. It's consistent. And they are, which is good. So off to the side here, I've got that button number 1 definitely is going to give me the Sticks candy consistently. It's not going to change. Okay, let's keep going down the list and look for anybody else who looks like they are repeating. So it's the same button twice, or 3 times, or 4 times, or 5 times. But it's the repetition of the same button that we're concerned about. Okay, I see 2 button number 2s. So I'll take a look at button number 2 here and button number 2 here. And I'm going to ask myself the same thing. With button number 2, do I get the exact same output every single time? So is it consistent? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. These are not the same. So what I have here is that button number 2 is giving me 2 totally different things. Now, that's an issue because I don't know what to expect. So in this case, I would say I'm getting M and N's as an option, or I'm getting duds as an option. This is no good. This is inconsistent. This is not going to fly. Therefore, answering my question, I would say no. The machine is not functioning properly. Because button 2 is giving different outputs, and that's an issue. If the button repeats itself, I need the output to be consistent. It's got to be the same. It's kind of like the soda machine. Okay, so let's take a look at part B. I'm going to redo the process again. I'm going to take a look at just the inputs. And I ask myself first question. So really what I'm going through here is kind of like a checklist of, well, 1, do any of my inputs, or my buttons, if you want to think about it that way, do they repeat? So that would be my first question. If I take a look at any of my inputs and I ask myself, do they repeat? No, I don't think so. none of my inputs repeat. Which means I have no proof or no reason to believe that this machine isn't functioning correctly. So I think it is. I don't have any reason to believe that it isn't. So since none of the inputs repeat, I believe this machine is functioning consistently. Now, what I'd like you to do for part C, write it down. I want you to take a minute. I want you to repeat the process. I want you to take a look at the inputs. Ask yourself, do any of them repeat? If they do, inspect those ones where the inputs repeat, and then check and see if your output is consistent. Okay, so my process, hopefully everybody's got a good idea right now what they think. So I'm going to take a look at my inputs. So I'm basically inspecting the buttons on the soda machine right now, and I'm looking to see if any of the buttons are the same. Yes, I think they are. I see a couple of 2s. So I'm going to look at those. I don't particularly care about the other ones because I'm not worried if the inputs don't repeat. So then I now take a look at the outputs. So I only look at the ones with the 2s, so the input of 2, because they're the same input. Now look at the output. Are the outputs the same? If they're the same, you're good. That's okay. If they're different, that's not good. So I'm going to take a look at the 2 numbers down at the bottom, and I know that 9 and -8 are nowhere near the same number, so these are not the same. So my answer would be no, this is not functioning properly. And I would explain why. So it's not functioning properly since the input of 2 has 2 different outputs. Therefore, it's not consistent. So I would say not consistent or predictable. Okay, now that finishes our notes for today.